Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas, back on the channel today with the second episode of our new Transfer Talk series. As I mentioned, I'm going to be joined by various guests to talk about some of the rumours that aren't really going away. So we're going to dissect more today. You might have seen them all on our 24/7 videos, which you should definitely check out. Those videos coming up every day on the channel talking about rumours. Joined today by Ben of the Toffee Blues, the Blue Room podcast. So be sure after this video, check him out on all social media, see everything that he does. And we're going to be going through some of the rumours. Obviously, we're not going to be addressing players like Allen and Bailey. You will see those players in our last video we did, so definitely check out that I did with Paul. Obviously, really appreciate your support on that video and all the videos we're doing at the moment. So today, start off with, at the time of recording, this news has kind of just come out past couple of days, really. Watford midfielder, Doucouré, we've been linked with him before. Seems a very kind of Marco Silva link. But we're not here to speculate too much. We're kind of more going to talk about, do we see them fitting in? Is it a player we need? And kind of what would we pay for them? You know, what would reflect good value for money? So just kind of starting off, Ben, what do you think about Doucouré? Do you think can you see him fitting into our midfield now?
I don't think it takes much to fit into our midfield at the moment, given the poor form of last season. I think with Doucouré, I think there's an air of caution with Doucouré, because although I do think it'd be an improvement in what we probably currently got in terms of a Tom Davies or a Sigurdsson, I think with Doucouré, the problem you've got with him, I think you've got to have him and play him in the right kind of system. He's limited. He's very good at certain things, but he's very limited. If we're in the market actively, as what I was to understand, that we were looking for a more sort of a bit of a water carrier, sort of an anchor man in midfield who would, sort of give the ball short and sort of shield the back four. That's not Doucouré's game at all. If anything, a bit of a strange comparison, but the stats that are backed up in the sort of style of play Doucouré, you know what? The only player I can think of that's similar to is actually when Ross Barkley was Everton. He is that kind of powerful runner in midfield. He'll get up and down the pitch. I don't know whether he'll necessarily shield the back four. He will put a foot in, but I don't think he's very defensively minded. He's all about really the raw attributes. A bit like Barkley was all about, that like physical, that powerful running, speed, and getting from one box to the other as quickly as possible. But so if you have the players around him, I certainly wouldn't rule it out as a bad sign. And I'd say if we can get him and another, like you mentioned earlier, like an Allen, who will come in and do sort of the nitty-gritty, dirty stuff on the pitch, to allow someone like Doucouré that freedom to go box to box, then it could work. But I think we're being a bit naive if we are simply going to buy Doucouré for whatever the reported fees are. I know that's been subjective. But if we bring Doucouré in as our only midfielder and we think that's going to solve everything, I think I'd be very, very naive.
Yeah, I agree. Don't get me wrong, he's a very good player, but he's not really the answer to our problems at the moment. If you look at Watford's setup, really, Capoue is more the player who is
exactly
offers more the defensive work, shields the back four, as he said. And Doucouré is a good player, but then you've got to talk about the fee as well, which we'll definitely get into. Maybe last year it might have worked in that kind of three in the midfield kind of system.
Definitely would have done.
When it's not kind of two centre midfielders in the new 4-4-2 that we play under Ancelotti. Can I see this one happening? Probably not. This might obviously be used as kind of almost like a smoke screen, maybe kind of get Napoli to agree a fee. Clubs use this tactic all the time. But obviously this is a player that we have been linked with a lot. As I mentioned, probably not the answer to our kind of problems. If he came in with another midfielder like Allen, as he mentioned, I'd completely agree. I think that would be good work. But then obviously it comes down to the fee at the end of the day. Watford, the rumours are 25 million. Seems a bit steep. Obviously, it's come down a lot, to be fair, from what it was last year, obviously, with their relegation to the Championship. There's all sorts of rumours. We've agreed personal terms. You never really know about any of that, so we're not going to go into that. Ben, in your opinion, what would kind of offer kind of good value for money for a player like Doucouré?
I think Watford will want 25, and we'll want to probably spend 15, similar to what we wanted to spend on Højbjerg. So you'd probably have to meet in the middle. I certainly would go over 20 million for him. But like I say, it all depends. Like, we need to get those. It's in a hypothetical world, if we get Allen in this week, say, and we spend £25 million sterling on him, then I wouldn't mind Doucouré then for another 20 to complement him. But I really, really hope and pray that we don't go naive with this and think we're not going to get Allen. We don't want to spend the extra 5 million on Allen to get him for 30. we'll get Doucouré for 2025 because that'd be very, very naive.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously they're going to demand a lot of money. Obviously, we know the relationship between the two clubs, isn't it?
But we should hold
The
the position of power because he's a player who obviously wants to leave. They're relegated. It's certainly a difficult market. I'd put it this way: I personally don't. Do you think if Everton don't sign Doucouré, that any other club will give them £25 million for him?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's
No,
definitely
I think
because we've been linked with him before.
There's not many teams I could see actually being a natural fit for Doucouré, to be honest. And I certainly can't see him wanting to stay at Watford. I think his only option, if he doesn't come to Everton, is stay around till January and hope that one of the teams towards the sort of bottom half of the Premier League fancy adding some energy into midfield and going from there.
Yeah, so I agree. So we don't want to stay on this one for too long. Obviously, plenty of other targets. Kind of the verdict we both kind of agree on. Yes, it'd be a good signing. Is it the answer? No. He'd have to be signed alongside another midfielder, whoever that might be. 25 million, far too much. Club are probably looking for around 15. Especially considering everything that's happened. We shouldn't be forking out that much money on a player that's not guaranteed to fix our problems. But obviously, we'll move on from Doucouré. I'm sure this rumour won't go away for the next, however many weeks the window's open, really, if we don't sign him. It's been around for a couple of years. Onto the right-back situation. Definitely been linked with a couple. Celik in the past. Those rumours seem to have gone quiet. Spurs were interested, so maybe they are progressing that deal more than we are. Kind of a deal that might emerge coming from Damasio, so obviously a fairly reliable source as far as sources go these days. You can never really trust anyone fully, but Damasio is a good one. Florenzi, obviously formerly the Roma captain, went on loan to Valencia last year. I'm actually not too sure the situation around that. I'm not sure if you do, Ben, but kind of, can you see this kind of deal maybe happening? It would be a decent amount of money. He's not an older player, but in terms of the bracket that Marcel Brands has looked at in the past, he's older than that kind of under 24 to under 25 range. What do you see Florenzi really adding to the squad, and can you really see it happening?
I don't think that one's going to happen. I think it's just agents trying to put everything. I think it's almost become the lazy rumour this summer. If someone's got a connection to Italian football, they're going to be linked with Carlo Ancelotti if they're a position he's looking to strengthen. I've not seen a lot of him. What I have seen of him, he's looked okay, but he's 29. If you could get him on loan or something like that in a Sidibe kind of fashion, maybe it could be a go, but there's certainly no way I'd be spending a lot of money on a 29-year-old right back. I don't think that's very sensible at all. However, it does every single transfer, including the Doucouré one you mentioned, it comes with the caveat for me of if Ancelotti rubber stamps it, then I trust him completely. So if he thinks he's the right man, then I'll forego all my opinions to completely get behind him. But on paper, personally, he wouldn't be someone I'd be looking at. I'd be looking for maybe someone a bit younger, or even keeping John Joe Kenny around, see how he goes.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously then it kind of just breaks into the debate. Do we need a right back? I'd personally say probably not.
Depends what happens with Kenny, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because Coleman, obviously we know he's not really good enough anymore. He does kind of almost fit into the system, though not as a right back anymore. We have seen him fit into that third centre-back role, which the club will probably look to utilise going further forwards, as we think they're missing out on Gabriel. We're not going to talk about Gabriel today. We have spoken about him in plenty of depth over the past couple of months, really. Seems like he's off to Arsenal now, and I wouldn't be surprised if the club don't really look further to a centre-back and look more to a right-back to potentially use Coleman kind of in that centre-back role. In terms of Florenzi, yes, very good player, as you mentioned, 29 years old. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense. If we were going to sign an older right back, we've got Coleman. Really, it's not like Alan, he's 29, but he's also going to offer a lot to the team.
Instantly
he's very experienced. Yeah, he's going to instantly improve us, but also he's someone Ancelotti trusts. He's clearly a team leader and can definitely help. Young midfielders like Tom Davies if he stays around. But as far as Florenzi goes, we don't really need that role at right back. We've got Coleman, who, if Kenny needs kind of that mentor kind of role, he's already got it, really. Alan in the midfield makes a lot more sense, because you look at the midfield, Sigurdsson's not teaching anyone anything. Gomez needs more time to develop by himself.
I think it's just difficult, though, when you say the right back situation. I think it's difficult because, to me, it looks like Ancelotti's already made his mind up on John Joe Kenny, that he's not good enough. And if he makes his mind up that John Joe Kenny's not good enough, then I think we do need I think that does come with priority then.
Yeah, so then another player that has been linked, also in La Liga last year, Santiago Arias. Obviously, I think Marcel Brands brought him to PSV or something like that. There's definitely a link between them.
There's a link between them, wasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that one? Let's say the club has had enough of John Joe Kenny. We do need to sign a right back. Between Arias and Florenzi, who are you looking at more, really?
Probably Arias. I think he's a couple of years younger. He's only 27, hitting 28. He's got a little bit more pedigree for me. He's played over 50 games for Colombia. He's played at all levels, really. He's played at the top levels. Obviously, maybe Yeremina can tell the manager a little bit more about him as well. But I know we were linked with him a lot last summer, and I was actually quite surprised we didn't get him on loan last summer. Again, I'd like to if we're going to go for something like that, I'd like to explore the idea of a loan option really to free up funds for the midfield. But because for me, if we're not, like I say, if John Joe Kenny is good, it can be good enough, then we need to give him a full season of football. If he's not good enough, we need to sell him and we need to bring it right back in. The likes of Arias, I'd like to bring in on loan, because if we're going to buy a right back, for me, I'd want someone like Max Aarons. I'd want a permanent younger right back who we can invest 10 years into. That's not going to happen, obviously, with Arias, but I could see the sense in it if the fee was respectable. And again, it goes down to how much of these rumours are actually real and Ancelotti wants them. Or like the Doucouré one, like the Zaha rumours, are they just recycled, from last summer, and a bit lazy journalism.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the situation's definitely changed for the club now. With Baines retiring, obviously they've decided they need a backup left back. And I imagine if we're going to loan anyone, I reckon it'll be left back more than anywhere else, because we've signed Doucouré from Marseille, definitely not ready for first team football, and they're not going to want it. Obviously, he's training with the first team at the moment, basically until we sign a left back, by the sounds of it. And I reckon if they were going to bring in a loan at right back, I don't think that would make much sense personally. You may as well just keep Kenny around, to be honest, because it's not
depends if they get offered. If they might want a fee for Kenny though to invest for it, because we know they've got to sell to buy this summer.
That is true, but the thing is, at left back, we'd be signing a loan for a left back coming through. At right back, I mean, I'm not fully clued up on the other 23s, but there doesn't seem like a right back coming through like Doucouré.
No.
So I think I can't imagine the club are going to use loans anymore unless it is to help the development of a younger player, almost kind of shield them from the first team, allow them time to develop. And obviously, a left back target we have been linked with that I don't think we've mentioned yet on either of these transfer talk videos. Anthony Robinson, obviously formerly of Everton, left last year. £2 million to Wigan. Obviously, with Wigan's relegation now, he is free to leave for around the fee of £2 million, I believe. What are your kind of opinions on this move?
I mean, that'd be a great signing. Purely for that, you'd probably treble, quadruple your money instantly because it's available for that fee. But I think this is another bit of a lazy one, because although I've no doubt that Everton will take him if he's available, I think it's sometimes a bit lazy though of Everton fans, on Twitter and everything saying, "Oh, we bring him back." In absolute fairness to Anthony Robinson, why would he want to come back? There's teams there in the Premier League, Sheffield United and Fulham, who aren't as good or aren't as big as Everton, but he'll get guaranteed first team exposure. He cannot get that at Everton. Anthony Robinson is not going to come in, and unless he performs exceptionally well in training and there's an injury, he's going to be second fiddle to Lucas Digne. And he left the club because he didn't want to play second fiddle to Lucas Digne last summer. So it's a non-starter for me, this one. I'd love it to happen. I think it'd be a really savvy piece of business, not just because of the quality we'd have as backup, but you would never lose your money on it. You'd make so much profit for nothing. But I think it's just a little bit of a lazy link, because I can't see in a month of Sundays a single reason why he would want to come back to Everton when he left 12 months ago, where he will get and can get guaranteed first team football at the clubs I've mentioned.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's one of those deals where it makes a lot of sense for the club, but absolutely no sense for the player.
It'd be excellent if they pulled it off. I don't see why, as a player, he'd do that. I really don't see why he'd stagnate his own career.
In terms of value for money, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. But
absolutely.
It just depends, because I can't see him. Obviously, he's linked with Fulham, which I think would be the ideal move for him, to be honest.
Then again, they've got Joe Bryan. I've just realised myself. Then
that's very true.
Might not play there. I think Sheffield United he'd probably play.
Well, it depends really, because they've got Ender Stevens.
He's hitting 30 though, isn't he? But
yeah, it's true. It might make sense for that deal, but for Robinson, I think it's very good value for money. Obviously, we are looking to do deals now, especially considering the financial situation. I can see Robinson making a lot of money for that. Obviously, he almost left at AC Milan in January for £10 million, I think, and we did have we had a sell-on clause, didn't we? So we would have earned like $2 million back. So it would have been like $4 million for a player that we can now get for $2 million. It does make a lot of sense, and obviously, it's a fortunate situation. Well, it's a very unfortunate situation what happened to Wigan, but obviously the club, when they sell these under 23 players, aren't putting buyback clauses in their contracts clearly. Otherwise, this would probably make a lot more sense. Clearly,
Well, I was just going to say there is a buyback clause in Anthony Robinson's contract, so Everton would have got a fee, but that's only provided that they make a profit on him.
Oh, right, because it seemed to me that because it's like the relegation clause, isn't it? That him and players like Joe Williams can't go for $2 million now. I think that's
it's because they've got it only comes into effect if they sell them for more than they buy them for. So that's why in January we would have got 25% of the fee, because maybe it's 25% of the profit, not of the fee. So whatever the profit is on top of the $2 million that they give us, but because he's going to be going for less than that, there's no profit, so we don't get a fee.
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of kind of we could talk ages about finances and but obviously, kind of the last one I want to go through, and we're not going to spend too long on this one because I really can't see this being a starter at all. A player we've been linked with before, Josh King. Clearly, the links are coming from relegated clubs, as you mentioned, like Max Aarons, but those rumours were gone quite quickly, really. Anthony Robinson, obviously not relegated from the Premier League, but relegated from the Championship now. Obviously, Bournemouth also relegated. Players like Josh King and Callum Wilson might look to leave. And what Bournemouth are going to have to generate money, let's be honest. They spend way above their means. You know, they've got a stadium of 10,000 people, and they're not going to get as much TV money as they did in the Premier League. Josh King is going to be the last player we're going to talk about. We're not going to speak about kind of the reliability of the source, because I think it's almost definite that he's not going to come. It seems like quite a lazy link, but do you see, and you can speak about Josh King as well, but also in terms of kind of relegated clubs, is that where you might be looking to do deals now, because there might be more value for money there, but kind of focusing on Josh King as well, do you think he'd really fit into the team at all?
Well, I think there's value in some of the relegated clubs depending on who you buy. There's likes of Ben Godfrey and Todd Cantwell at Norwich who will be quite attracted to a lot of Premier League clubs. I actually think I'd prefer to look down the Championship market, to be honest. There's a lot of players in that Championship who can make that step up quite seamlessly. And I'd like for us to start fishing in that pond, really, to try and that's how you're going to get value out of transfers these days. Same with Josh King. Yeah, it's such a lazy link. It's never going to happen in a month of Sundays. He's already, 29, 30 himself. He's probably the one position on the pitch we don't need any reinforcement in, provided Moise Keane sticks around. And they would probably want quite a silly fee for him. I mean, would you get him for less than 20 million? Probably not. So it's a complete non-starter. And I think that will hinder Bournemouth a lot, actually, because they've got the likes of him and Wilson, Wilson's got a bit of a bad injury record as well, who are hitting 28, 29, 30. No one's going to give them massive money for those two. So that one, it's never going to happen. But I would, like us to start looking down the Championship route, because I think there's a lot of good players in that league that could easily step up. And in terms of relegated team, like you said, there you can find but for every Andrew Robertson, there's a flop. So it's kind of the luck of the draw. But it's more so the younger players that go down. I think if you put them in a better team, they can thrive.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of it for today. Obviously, last time we had the whole window to go through, but obviously we're going to try and get these videos out maybe every week, maybe every 2 weeks. These videos completely depend on the speculation that does arrive. But obviously, thanks to Ben for joining me. Definitely check out all of his social media. Obviously, he's everywhere on Everton social media, so you can check him out in plenty of places. Of course, let us know in the comments below what you think about all these rumours. I'll quickly list off the players that we've used today. Doucouré of Watford, Florenzi of, formerly Valencia on loan, but obviously Roma, Arias of Atletico Madrid, Josh King off Bournemouth, and Robinson off Wigan, obviously formerly of Everton. So do let us know in the comments down below what you think about all those players. If not those players, who are you looking to recruit instead? Who do you think would be a good fit? And as much as thanks, Ben, thank you all very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.